Your future can't begin until you stop telling stories that belong to your past. Be it, I know what it feels like to wake up and sense that you've outgrown the person you used to be, but the world keeps handing you the same script. I know the weight of old mistakes, old doubts, old labels that cling to you like shadows, even when your soul is begging to step into the light. But hear me. Transformation isn't a moment, it's a choice, a decision you make again and again, even when you're scared. Today, I want to walk with you through 7 truths that helped me shed every version of myself that no longer fit and step into the woman I was meant to become. You are not your history, you are your possibility. It sounds simple, almost poetic, but it carries a depth that can break chains if you let it. Because for so many of us, the biggest prison we ever live in is built from memories we never learned to release. We cling to versions of ourselves that were shaped by fear, by pain, by circumstances we didn't choose. We replay old scenes, old mistakes, old failures, like a movie stuck on repeat. And somewhere along the way, we begin to believe that what happened to us is somehow the ceiling of what can happen for us. But life doesn't work that way. God doesn't work that way. Your past is a chapter, but it is not the title of your book. I've lived through seasons where the weight of my own history felt like an anchor tied around my ankles. There were moments when I thought, maybe this is who I am. Maybe this is all I'll ever be. It's a quiet kind of despair, the kind that doesn't scream but whispers, gently, persistently. Stay small, stay familiar, don't hope for too much. And the danger of that whisper is that it feels like comfort. It feels like truth. Until one day, something inside you starts to rebel. Something deeper, older, wiser, the part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who you couldn't be. That inner voice is possibility. And possibility does not care how many times you've fallen. It doesn't care who doubted you, who left you, who broke you, or who underestimated you. Possibility looks at your past and says, thank you for the lessons, but you don't get to define the rest of the story. The moment you start listening to that voice, even a little, everything changes. Transformation begins with permission. Permission to dream again. Permission to evolve. Permission to let go of what no longer feels like truth. Sometimes we don't realize how tightly we've been gripping old identities until life forces us to open our hands. Pain does that. Loss does that. Failure does that. But not to punish us, to free us. Because you cannot carry the old you into the life that was designed for the new you. Think about a snake shedding its skin. It doesn't negotiate with the old layer. It doesn't feel guilty about outgrowing it. It simply knows that life requires a new form, and so it lets go. Easily, naturally, without apology. That's what becoming your possibility feels like. A shedding, a release, a quiet acceptance that the person you were yesterday served you, but cannot accompany you into tomorrow. And the truth is, sometimes the world struggles to accept your transformation before you do. People get comfortable with your history. They memorize your patterns. They expect you to stay predictable because it keeps them comfortable too. But when you start growing, when you start believing in more, when you start walking differently, it disrupts the story they've written about you. And that's okay. You don't exist to fit inside someone else's memory. You exist to fulfill your calling. When I learned to detach my identity from my past, I discovered something beautiful. My history was never a burden. It was preparation. Every disappointment taught me resilience. Every closed door taught me patience. Every misstep taught me humility. Every heartbreak taught me compassion. Every fall taught me how to rise. These things weren't meant to define me. They were meant to refine me. Possibility is not a gift only the lucky receive. It's the birthright of every human being. But it asks for one thing: faith. Faith in something bigger than your wounds. Faith in the timing you cannot control. Faith in the promise that your life is not random, not wasted, not forgotten. Faith that there is more for you, even when you cannot yet see it. You are not the mistakes you made when you didn't know any better. You are not the fears that once silenced you. You are not the environment that tried to limit you. You are not the version of yourself who was just trying to survive. You are a possibility, raw, untamed, divine possibility. And the moment you stop worshipping your history and start honoring your potential, you become unstoppable. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Imagine the weight of your past sliding off your shoulders. Imagine the doors you've been too afraid to open. Imagine the person you secretly know you can be. Brave, disciplined, purpose-driven, faith-filled, expansive. That person is not a fantasy. That person is you without the chains. All you have to do is decide that your past may have shaped you, but it will not name you. Your possibility will. There comes a moment when you realize that the biggest battle of your life is not with the world around you. It's with the limitations inside you. The quiet ones, the reasonable ones, the ones that sound like self-protection but are actually self-sabotage. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. Maybe later. What if I fail? These sentences feel harmless, almost logical. But they build invisible walls around your future. I had to learn painfully and slowly that transformation begins the moment you stop negotiating with those limitations, the moment you stop giving your doubt a seat at the table. Limitations don't scream, they whisper. They disguise themselves as practicality, humility, caution. They say, be realistic, as if realism ever built something extraordinary. They say, don't be too ambitious, as if ambition is a flaw. They say, stay safe, as if safety is the purpose of your existence. And you start to believe them. You start shrinking your dreams to fit the size of your fear. You start aiming lower, speaking softer, wanting less, not because you lack potential, but because you've accepted the comfort of your limitations. I remember seasons in my life when I lived in what I call almosts. I almost took the risk. I almost said yes. I almost chose courage. But then the negotiation began. The bargaining, the internal debate. I would tell myself, maybe next year. Maybe after I'm more prepared. Maybe once I fix everything that's wrong with me. And while I was waiting for the perfect moment, life moved on. Opportunities passed. Doors closed. Not because I wasn't worthy of them, but because I kept negotiating with the part of me that was afraid to rise. Growth is uncomfortable because it demands honesty. It forces you to expose the excuses you've been protecting. It asks you to confront the small stories you've been telling yourself about who you are. And when you stop negotiating with those stories, when you finally say no more, something powerful happens. Your spirit begins to stretch. Your confidence begins to rebuild. Your vision becomes sharper. You stop settling. You start seeking. You stop doubting. You start daring. This shift is subtle in the beginning, but it becomes a force, a momentum that changes everything. Think of a rocket preparing for launch. The majority of its energy is used just to break free from gravity, to escape the pull of what holds it down. Your limitations are that gravity. They keep you grounded in the old version of yourself. They tell you not to dream too high or move too fast. But the moment you ignite, the moment you push past that initial resistance, the sky opens. The impossible becomes reachable. You stop thinking like the person you were and you start acting like the person you're becoming. And this transformation isn't loud. It starts quietly. With a single brave decision, with choosing action over fear, with choosing progress over perfection, with choosing faith over doubt. That's the turning point. Not when your life changes externally, but when you decide internally that you will no longer betray your own potential. Yes, discipline matters. Yes, hard work matters. But none of it comes alive until you stop entertaining the limitations that dilute your power. You cannot create a new life with an old mindset. You cannot step into the next chapter if you keep arguing for the weaknesses of the last one. At some point, you must stand up to your own excuses and say, I'm done shrinking to make my fear comfortable. And here's the truth. Many people never realize your limitations are not actually barriers. They are thresholds. They are invitations. Each one asks, how badly do you want what you say you want? Your dream won't be handed to you just because you're kind or talented or hopeful. It will be handed to you when you decide to stop negotiating with doubt and start negotiating with destiny. There is greatness inside you, not the loud, flashy kind the world claps for, but the quiet, disciplined, relentless kind that transforms entire lives. That greatness is waiting for your permission. It's waiting for you to silence the internal arguments that have kept you small. It's waiting for you to trust that you were not created with potential just to live with hesitation. So the next time you feel yourself making excuses, pause. Listen closely. Ask yourself, is this truth or is this fear dressed as wisdom? Most people let that fear negotiate their entire future. You will not. Because you now know the truth, your limitation is only a wall if you refuse to walk through it. You are stronger than the excuses that once protected you. You are bigger than the fears that once defined you. And the moment you stop negotiating with your limitations, the moment you stop letting your doubt do the talking, the new you begins. There is a truth most people spend years running from. The gap between the person you are today and the person you want to become is built entirely out of discipline. Not motivation, not luck, not talent, discipline. It is the bridge between the old you and the new you. And for a long time, I resisted that. I thought transformation would arrive in a moment of inspiration, a lightning bolt, a sudden breakthrough. But real transformation is quieter than that. It happens when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when nobody is validating you. It happens in those small, ordinary decisions you repeat until they become who you are. BR discipline is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It doesn't feel magical. In fact, it often feels like sacrifice. Like waking up earlier than your comfort wants you to. Like choosing the harder road when the easier one is right there waiting. Like saying no when your impulses are begging you to say yes. Like pushing through the days when your mind is exhausted, your heart is tired, and everything inside you whispers, just give up. That is where the new you is built. Not in your dreams, but in your decisions. There were seasons in my life when I wanted change, but I wasn't willing to become the person change required. I wanted the reward, but not the routine. I wanted the outcome, but not the discipline. And so I stayed stuck, not because I lacked potential, but because I refused to accept the truth. Discipline is the price of a life you're proud of. You cannot transform while keeping all your old habits. You cannot rise while clinging to what keeps you grounded. You cannot become more while living a pattern of less. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. It looks repetitive, it looks tedious. But every strike, every motion, every small act is shaping something beautiful, something intentional, something that only reveals itself through the accumulation of discipline. Your life is no different. Every small choice is a chisel. Every act of consistency carves a new angle of your character. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you shape the person you will become. And here's the part people rarely talk about. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about alignment. It's about aligning your actions with your higher self, your deeper truth, your divine purpose. When you show up for your goals every day, you're not just building habits, you're building integrity. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted. You're reinforcing a message that says, I will not abandon myself. That kind of self-trust becomes unshakable. There will be mornings when the old you calls you back, tempting you with comfort, with laziness, with old patterns. But discipline teaches you to say, I choose my future over my feelings. Feelings are fleeting. Discipline is foundational. Feelings fluctuate. Discipline anchors you. Feelings will betray you. Discipline will build you. And something extraordinary happens when discipline becomes a lifestyle instead of a burst of effort. Your identity shifts. You stop wishing for change and start embodying it. You stop talking about who you want to be and start acting like that person today. You start seeing progress, tiny at first but powerful. And with every small win, your confidence grows. Not the loud kind of confidence that needs applause, the quiet kind that says, I know who I'm becoming and I'm willing to work for it. Be a discipline is self-respect in action. It's telling your future, I care about you too much to sabotage you in the present. It's telling God, I will do my part while trusting you to do the rest. It's telling your old self, thank you for getting me this far, but you're no longer driving. And the beauty of discipline is this. It doesn't just change your habits. It changes your spirit. You start standing taller. You start thinking clearer. You start believing deeper. You start living with a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken by opinions, setbacks, or temporary discomfort. Discipline plants roots so deep that storms become irrelevant. Pr. No one transforms by accident. No one evolves by wishing. No one rises by convenience. Your new life demands a version of you that shows up intentionally every single day. Not perfectly, but consistently. Some days you will stumble. Some days you will fall. But discipline teaches you something motivation never will. You can rise again. You can keep going. You can choose your destiny over your excuses. But behold, you survived on impulses. The new you will be built on discipline. Dr. There comes a point in your journey when you realize you're not being held back by the world. You're being held back by the weight you refuse to put down. We talk about ambition and goals and discipline, but none of it can bloom inside a heart that's still chained to guilt, regret, or shame. Forgiveness is freedom, especially when you learn to give it to yourself. It sounds noble when we talk about forgiving others, but the hardest person to forgive is often the one looking back at you in the mirror. And for a long time, I carried the burden of my own mistakes like they were proof that I didn't deserve more. We all have chapters we wish we could rewrite, words we can't take back, choices we didn't think through, moments we handled with immaturity, fear, or ignorance, and the world rarely lets you forget them. People love to remind you who you were, even when you're doing the work to become someone different. But here's something I had to learn slowly, painfully, and privately. You do not owe your past a lifetime sentence. You owe it a lesson, a blessing, and then release. But the shame you carry was never meant to be a home, only a visitor. But so many of us turn temporary mistakes into permanent identities. We say, "This is who I am now." We let guilt build walls around our potential. We let regret silence our dreams. And every time we try to rise, that old voice echoes, "Who are you to want more? Who are you to grow? Who are you to change?" That voice is not truth. That voice is fear pretending to be truth. And every time you believe it, you shrink. Forgiveness is the moment you look at your younger self with compassion instead of criticism. When you say, "She didn't know what I know now. She was trying even when she failed. She was surviving even when she stumbled." And instead of punishing that version of yourself, you honor her for getting you this far. That shift, that softening, is where healing begins. You cannot become the person you're meant to be while despising the person you used to be. Transformation requires grace, real grace. The kind that doesn't erase the past, but releases the hold it has on your identity. The kind that allows you to move forward without dragging the chains of self-judgment behind you. The kind that says, "I'm allowed to outgrow who I was." But think of a garden after winter. The cold, the frost, the dead branches, they don't stop the flowers from blooming again. Nature doesn't punish itself for seasons of dormancy. It simply begins again. And maybe that's the lesson you've been needing, to begin again, to allow new growth to come through the soil of your mister, to trust that God can use every broken piece to build something whole. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending the pain never existed. It means choosing not to stay stuck in the memory of it. It means taking back the power you gave to the moment that hurt you, even if you were the one who caused it. And when you forgive yourself, a space opens inside you, a space that was previously filled with heaviness. In that space, peace grows, confidence grows, worthiness grows, freedom grows. And here is a truth I learned only with time. The version of you that made those mistakes was doing the best they could with the awareness they had. If they had known better, they would have done better. That understanding changes everything. It allows you to look at your past with empathy instead of anger. It allows you to soften around the edges of your story. It allows you to move through life without carrying every bruise on your back. Br. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is wisdom, it is strength, it is spiritual maturity. It is the moment you stop letting old wounds dictate your new choices. It's the moment you say, "I may not be proud of everything I've done, but I'm proud of the person I'm becoming." And that is what matters. That is what frees you. When you forgive yourself, you stop living in a loop of what ifs and start stepping into the reality of what can be. You open doors that guilt once kept locked, you begin to trust yourself again. You begin to believe that you are worthy of joy, of purpose, of growth, and that belief changes the way you walk through the world. You become lighter, braver, more grounded, more open to love and possibility, because when the weight of shame finally falls away, your spirit rises. There is a moment in every person's life when they realize that no matter how strong their willpower is, no matter how bright their dreams are, no matter how clear their intentions may be, they cannot grow in soil that refuses to nourish them. Your environment shapes you. Sometimes quietly, sometimes aggressively, sometimes without you even noticing. But it shapes you all the same. And if you want to transform your life, you must have the courage to examine the world you stand in, the people, the conversations, the energy, the habits, the expectations, and ask yourself a difficult, honest question. Is this feeding my growth or is this keeping me small? But I had seasons where I stayed in environments that were too comfortable, too predictable, too familiar. Not because they were harmful, not because they were unkind, but because they didn't challenge me. They didn't stretch me. They didn't call me higher. And sometimes that kind of comfort is more dangerous than chaos. Because chaos forces change. Comfort quietly prevents it. You wake up one day realizing your dreams have outgrown the room you keep trying to fit them into. The truth is, you can love people deeply and still recognize that their version of you is outdated. You can be surrounded by friends who adore you and still feel unseen by them. You can be in spaces where everyone claps for you, but no one pushes you. Familiarity can become a cage if you aren't careful. It can lull you into believing that staying where you are is enough, when your soul knows it isn't. Growth requires friction. It requires people who challenge your thinking, who inspire your ambition, who hold you accountable to your potential, not people who only remember who you used to be, not people who keep you anchored to your old stories, not people who get threatened when you start to expand, because the moment you choose to evolve, your environment will reveal its true nature. Some will celebrate you, some will question you, some will drift away, some will try to pull you back into the version of yourself that felt most convenient for them that you are, and that's okay. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into every chapter of your life. Some people are bridges, necessary for the journey, but not the final destination. Some people are mirrors, reflecting who you were, not who you're becoming. And some people are catalysts, rare souls who ignite something inside you that you didn't know you needed. The key is learning to recognize which is which. There were moments in my life when I felt guilty for outgrowing people. I felt selfish for choosing environments that elevated me instead of environments that comforted me. But slowly, I realized something essential. Your purpose cannot bloom in places that prefer your potential to stay dormant. Your growth is not a betrayal. Your expansion is not a rejection. It's alignment. It's truth. It's destiny unfolding. Think of a plant placed in a small pot. You can water it, feed it, talk to it, pray over it, but it will never grow beyond the boundaries of its container. It's not the plant's fault. It's not the caretaker's fault. The container is simply too small. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is transplant yourself into bigger soil. Soil that challenges your roots. Soil that allows you to stretch. Soil that gives you room to rise upward and outward. Your circle is your ecosystem. The conversations you have daily shape your confidence. The people you spend time with influence your standards. The energy you absorb becomes the energy you radiate. If you surround yourself with negativity, you will start to shrink. If you surround yourself with mediocrity, you will start to settle. But if you surround yourself with people who dream boldly, speak boldly, and live boldly, you will rise naturally. You won't even notice it at first. Your mindset shifts. Your goals expand. Your faith strengthens. Your discipline becomes effortless. And here's the truth. Sometimes the environment you need is not a physical place, but a spiritual one, a mental one, a new routine, a healthier boundary, a deeper connection with yourself. Sometimes you can't change what's around you immediately, but you can change what you allow inside you. You can create an inner atmosphere of belief, hope, courage, and clarity that no external environment can suffocate. But when you do have the chance to choose, choose wisely. Choose people who clap when you win, but also challenge you when you play small. Choose conversations that feed your vision, not your fears. Choose mentors who see not just who you are, but who you can become. Choose environments that stretch your spirit, sharpen your discipline, and strengthen your purpose. Because the truth is simple, the environment that once helped you grow may become the environment that holds you back. And outgrowing a place does not mean you've lost love for it. It means you've gained love for yourself. There is a shift that happens inside you the moment you stop asking life, "What can you give me?" and start asking, "What can I give to the world?" At first it feels subtle, almost unnoticeable, like a gentle turning of the heart, but slowly that shift rewrites everything. Your motives, your relationships, your sense of purpose, even the way you carry yourself. Because success may build your life, but service builds your soul, and without that, no amount of achievement ever feels enough. There was a time when I believed fulfillment came from reaching the next milestone, collecting the next accomplishment, proving the next doubt wrong. And don't get me wrong, those victories matter. They teach you discipline, resilience, and courage. But there's a moment, a quiet one, when you realize that the things you once celebrated no longer fill you the way they used to. Your heart starts craving something deeper, something more meaningful, something that doesn't just elevate you, but elevates others through you. BR service is that something. It doesn't always look like grand gestures or dramatic acts of charity. Sometimes it's a conversation with someone who needed to feel seen. Sometimes it's lifting a friend when their world feels heavy. Sometimes it's guiding a younger soul who hasn't yet learned to trust their own potential. Sometimes it's just showing up for a stranger with kindness when they expect indifference. Service is the willingness to let your life be bigger than your own desires. And there is a sacred power in that. A power that success alone cannot give you. When you start giving without expecting anything in return, a different kind of wealth begins to grow inside you. A deeper confidence, a softer heart, a clearer mind. You begin to understand that the purpose of your gifts is not to shine alone, but to illuminate paths for others. You start realizing that your blessings were never meant to stop with you. They were meant to flow through you. There were moments in my journey where the pressure felt overwhelming. The expectations, the scrutiny, the constant demand to be more, do more, achieve more. And ironically, the thing that stabilized me wasn't stepping back into myself. It was stepping outside myself. When I stopped focusing on what I lacked and started focusing on how I could help, my spirit expanded. My world grew wider. My problems didn't disappear, but they shrank. Because service shifts your perspective. It reminds you that you are part of something vast, connected, purposeful. And here's the truth most people overlook. Serving others heals parts of you that achievement never touches. Serving makes you humble. Serving makes you grateful. Serving makes you aware of your own blessings in a way success alone never will. It softens the edges of your ambition and strengthens the core of your character. It reconnects you with humanity, with shared struggle, shared hope, shared faith. Bar service is not losing yourself. It is discovering your highest self. Bar. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need to be wealthy or powerful or perfect to serve. You just need a willing heart. You can serve with your time, your words, your talent, your presence. You can serve in silence. You can serve without being noticed. And sometimes the quietest acts are the ones that echo the loudest in someone else's life. But there is another side to service, one that's uncomfortable but necessary. When you choose a life of service, not everyone will understand it. Some will mistake your kindness for weakness. Some will think your humility means you lack ambition. Some will believe you are giving too much. But don't let that noise pull you away from your purpose. Service is never wasted, not a single moment of it. Because when you serve from a place of faith, every act becomes a seed planted in someone else's heart, and a seed planted in your own. But the world teaches us to chase success. Faith teaches us to chase meaning. And meaning is always found in what we give, not just in what we gather. Look at the people who inspire you most. The ones whose presence feels like warmth, whose words stay with you, whose lives radiate something divine. They are not remembered for what they achieved alone, but for what they gave, for the light they carried, for the hope they offered, for the hearts they touched. RPR, that is the kind of transformation service creates. You become someone whose presence itself is a contribution. Someone who lifts rooms without speaking. Someone who leads with compassion. Someone whose ambition is anchored in something deeper than recognition, anchored in purpose. Success may make you impressive, but service makes you unforgettable. There comes a point on your journey when the path ahead of you becomes blurry, when the plans you so carefully crafted begin to crumble, when the timing doesn't make sense, when the waiting feels endless and the next step seems hidden behind fog. And in those moments, discipline helps you move, courage helps you stand. But it is faith, quiet, unwavering faith, that carries you forward. Faith is the fuel for the chapters you cannot yet see. We live in a world that worships certainty. People want guarantees, timelines, blueprints, outcomes. They want to know exactly how every piece of the puzzle will fit before they take a single step. But the truth is, some of the most important steps you'll ever take in life require walking without proof, without clarity, without applause, without knowing if what you're doing will work out. And that kind of step can only be taken with faith. Faith is not blind optimism. It's not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's not ignoring the realities of your life. Faith is trust. Trust in the process. Trust in your resilience. Trust in the God who has never abandoned you, not even once, even in the moments when you felt most alone. Faith is the quiet assurance that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should, even when it doesn't look the way you imagined. There were seasons in my life when everything felt still, when I was doing the work, planting the seeds, showing up day after day, and nothing seemed to change. It's hard to keep believing when your effort looks invisible. It's hard to keep hoping when the door refuses to open. It's hard to keep moving when you don't know if you're moving in the right direction. But faith whispers, keep going. Something is happening beneath the surface. Something is aligning that you cannot see yet. But faith is the strength that helps you hold on when logic tells you to let go. Faith is the courage to stay planted when your impatience tells you to run. Faith is choosing to believe that every setback, every closed door, every detour holds purpose, even when you don't understand it yet. PR. And here's the part many people miss. Faith is not passive, it is active. It is a daily decision. It is showing up even when you're tired. It is believing even when evidence is scarce. It is working while you wait. It is trusting the unseen while honoring the responsibilities right in front of you. Faith is not just hoping for a miracle, it is preparing for the miracle as if it's already on the way. There were plans I made that didn't work out. There were dreams I chased that dissolved. There were doors I begged God to open, and He closed them anyway. And in the moment it felt like rejection, but later, with time, wisdom and distance, I realized something extraordinary. Every no was a protection. Every delay was preparation. Every setback was a redirection into something far greater than what I could have planned for myself. That is faith. Not that everything will go your way, but that everything will unfold the right way. F. Faith doesn't eliminate the unknown, it transforms it. Instead of feeling like emptiness, the unknown becomes a possibility. Instead of feeling like fear, it becomes anticipation. Instead of feeling like darkness, it becomes a canvas where something new can be created. Faith gives you the strength to walk even when the ground beneath you is still forming. And maybe the most beautiful truth about faith is this: you don't need to have it all figured out to take the next step. You don't need to see the whole staircase to climb the first stair. You don't need to feel strong to start. Faith meets you where you are and carries you where you're meant to be. It doesn't demand perfection, it only asks for willingness. When you trust that your life is being guided by God, by purpose, by something greater than your fear, you stop panicking at every turn. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop rushing timelines that were never meant for you. You begin to breathe deeper, walk softer, stand taller. You begin to feel supported even in silence. You begin to recognize that the path you are on is not random, it is sacred. And the incredible thing, faith doesn't just help you believe in the future, it helps you believe in yourself. Because the moment you trust that you are being led, you also trust that you are capable of following. You trust that you can endure. You trust that you can rise. You trust that you are not walking alone. Not now, not ever. Faith turns uncertainty into strength. It turns waiting into preparation. It turns fear into wisdom. And when you move through life with faith, every step becomes a declaration. I may not know where this leads, but I know I am meant to walk it. So as you walk out of this moment and back into your life, hold this truth close to your heart. You were not created to repeat your past. You were created to rise beyond it. You were not placed here to shrink, but to shine with a light only you can carry. And no matter how uncertain the road feels, no matter how heavy the journey becomes, you are guided, you are protected, you are strengthened in ways you cannot yet see. Your next chapter is not waiting for a perfect version of you. It's waiting for a willing version of you, but a brave version, a faithful version. .br, a version that believes, even trembling, that something greater is calling your name. .br. So step forward, take the risk. Bar walk through the door, bar to leave the weight of who you were behind, and step into the grace of who you're becoming. And remember this, bar when you move with faith, you never walk alone. But when you dare to rise, heaven rises with you.